Welcome to this episode of Let's Talk Safety with Richa Vashishta. This series is produced by the Humsafar Trust with the CSR support of Dorf Kettle Chemicals India Limited. आज हमारे साथ ऋचा वशिष्ठ है जो एक मेंटल हेल्थ प्रैक्टिशनर है और लहर मेंटल हेल्थ के फाउंडर भी है. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, everyone. My name is Richa. My pronouns are she, they. I'm a therapist. मैं 11 साल से काम कर रही हूँ mental health space में. And हम लोग at the intersections of gender, sexuality, neurodivergence में बहुत सारा काम करते हैं. And other than, I think, being a therapist, I also try to do a lot of work with corporates, schools, colleges, keeping safety at the center कि हम हर एक space को queer friendly या queer affirmative कैसे बना सकते हैं. So yeah, looking forward to this conversation.
I'd like to start by asking you, you mentioned safety, and like to start by asking you what exactly does it mean to you, both personally and professionally? What meaning does safety hold for you?
I think अगर मैं सेफ्टी के बारे में सोचूं, द कॉन्सेप्ट हैज़ इवॉल्व्ड ओवर टाइम. जस्ट कि हम जहाँ पर भी है वो जगह हमारे लिए सेफ़ होती है कि नहीं. आई थिंक स्टार्टिंग फ्रॉम होम टू देन स्कूल, कॉलेजेस, वर्क स्पेसेस, एवरी स्पेस में मैं यही सोचती थी, आई थिंक ऑन अ पर्सनल लेवल कि इज़ दिस अ सेफ स्पेस फॉर मी. एंड आई थिंक फॉर अ वेरी लॉन्ग पीरियड मुझे यही नहीं समझ आता था कि सेफ्टी होता क्या है. बट आई थिंक at this point of time in my life where I live on my own independently, I have a beautiful support system. Safety means so many things to me. It's like this space where all parts of me can show up. जहाँ पर there's no part of me जिसको लगेगा कि नहीं हम यहाँ बाहर नहीं निकल सकते हैं, हम यहाँ बात नहीं कर सकते हैं, we can't express ourselves. सेफ्टी इज़ नॉट अ सोल रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी. इट इज़ नॉट समथिंग कि अच्छा क्योंकि मैं आज एक फैसिलिटेटर हूँ तो सेफ्टी मेरा रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है. सेफ्टी इज़ लाइक अ वेरी म्यूचुअल रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी. हु एवर इज़ इन दैट स्पेस also kind of needs to take that responsibility कि ठीक है, हाँ, you know, we're all going to make this a space where we don't judge each other, we can let each other talk openly. So yeah, so many things safety can mean.
So essentially you're saying that सेफ्टी एक चीज़ है जो हम बनाते हैं, वी क्रिएट.
Absolutely.
एंड व्हाट डिड इट फील लाइक व्हेन द सेफ्टी वाज नॉट देयर? जब आप ऐसे स्पेसेस में थे जहाँ पे आपको सेफ्टी नहीं मिली.
I think if I have to think about it, and there are so many spaces जहाँ पे safety महसूस करना, like sometimes I feel like safety can be a privilege, you know, it's not something कि it comes naturally to everyone. And since you also rightly said कि it is something जो हम create करते हैं, सबको नहीं आता है create करना safety या एक safe space. तो there have been many times in my life where I felt like okay, this did not feel like a safe space for me, but तब ना मेरे पास कोई tools थे, language था to do anything about it कि अच्छा मैं क्या करूँ अभी सिचुएशन में. मुझे ये लगता था कि नहीं, I तो have to like live through this, I have to go through this, this is just, you know, the part of it right now. And then in hindsight you look at it and you realize कि ठीक है, a lot of spaces जहाँ पर आपको safety नहीं मिलती है, it can also cause a lot of trauma. So then you're also kind of moving along with that trauma, and then you have to do a lot of healing around it, which is what I notice as a person with lived experiences as well as a therapist who supports a lot of clients who come from a space of trauma.
जब किसी के पास सेफ्टी ना हो, what tools can they use? How can they work through spaces that may not be safe?
I think जब हम सेफ्टी के बारे में सोचते हैं और हम प्लान करते हैं कि अच्छा अगर कोई स्पेस आपके लिए सेफ नहीं है, I think you can think about who would you like to reach out to, who can you have on your side जो आपको सपोर्ट कर सकता है. तो अगर आपको लगता है let's look at an example. Let's just say that there's a queer person at a workspace who's not feeling safe क्योंकि उनको लगता है कि ये workspace queer and trans affirmative नहीं है. What is it that person can do in these scenarios? I feel कि अगर there is one colleague जिनसे उनको लगता है कि हाँ मैं इनसे शेयर कर सकता हूँ, this person is like a safe space or like a safe person for me at work, which I personally also witnessed. Like when I was working, I had one or two people who I would say were like my chosen family at work, which means so many different things, because even though you might feel like an entire corporate or an office is not understanding you, you have somebody who's there to support
Yeah.
you, while most places you might not really get that too. So I think just support, like finding somebody for support. हमें ऐसा भी लगता है कि वी शुड लाइक कॉल थिंग्स आउट एंड हमें बता देना चाहिए, बट उसमें बहुत सारे पावर डायनामिक्स आ जाता है. उसमें ये भी हो जाता है कि नॉट एवरीबडी इज़ कम्फर्टेबल कि वो HR से जाके बात कर लेंगे, या वो इफ़ देर इन अ कॉलेज दे आर गोइंग टू लाइक कॉल दैट आउट एंड दे गोइंग टू डू अ विसल ब्लोइंग. ऐसा इज़ नॉट ऑलवेज पॉसिबल. सो the closest thing is like, okay, if I can find a friend and I can talk to them about what's happening in my life. So that's the first thing that's coming up right now.
आपके काम में जब आप क्लाइंट्स के साथ काम करते हैं, व्हाट आर द फीलिंग्स दैट जनरली कम अप जब टॉपिक ऑफ कमिंग आउट आता है?
Abhi, since I've been working in this space for 11 plus years, I do meet a lot of clients who would be between the ages of 18 to 25. So it's interesting क्योंकि I feel more and more coming out does not feel very important anymore. It is just like, it's a part of me, it exists. People seem to be coming out to people very comfortably, but this is also very urban setting that I am talking about, right?
Yeah.
Like the people who come to me for therapy, or people who would come to Leher are coming from a space of privilege because they can afford therapy services. So I think keeping that in mind is also very important कि हम कैसे क्लास को cater कर रहे हैं. तो coming out now has become less of a bigger deal than it was when probably I was coming out, or literally when I was coming out about 10 years ago. So अभी लोगों को लगता है कि हाँ ठीक है, like parents are a lot more accepting, people are a lot more accepting. लोग they're accepting so much about themselves. Agar it's about their gender, it's about their sexuality. So it's been very refreshing to see how people have been approaching their sexuality and gender.
Yeah. आपने क्लास के बारे में बात किया, so I wanted to ask, is caste also a factor where it becomes even harder for people to come out?
I think very, very important question. And for me, I think I like to zoom out and think about different intersectionalities where coming out can definitely be a challenge. Caste, as you mentioned, class, religion, all of these things also make it very different, because it is about कि आप कैसे फैमिली से आ रहे हो, आप कैसे सोसाइटी में बिलोंग कर रहे हो, आपको कैसी टाइप की एक्सेप्टेंस मिल रही है. सो आई हैव अ लॉट ऑफ क्लाइंट्स हु आर दलित, एंड when I read my surname, I know that I come from a space of privilege, and my clients also know that I come from a space of privilege. So it's interesting because we have a lot of caste related conversations, and again coming back to our main topic here, safety. It is my responsibility that I'm creating a safer space for my client who's coming from a caste minority. And what kind of a role does power play? What kind of a role does a sense of privilege play? That I need to be aware about my privilege. I need to keep my privilege in check. I know a lot of clients, especially who are coming from, let's say, like people who come from Muslim families. They find it very hard to come out to their family. And इतने सारे मेरे clients हैं जो बोलते हैं कि हमें तो dual life जीनी पड़ती है क्योंकि मेरे पेरेंट्स नहीं एक्सेप्ट करने वाले हैं ये. एंड विद कास्ट ऑल्सो इट इज़ कि वन इज़ कमिंग आउट, दूसरा है कि आई डोंट नो हाउ पीपल आर गोइंग टू लुक एट मी. आई डोंट नो कि मेरे कैसे दोस्त बनेंगे. विल आई एवर हैव अ पार्टनर? विल समबडी वांट टू बी विद मी? लाइक वी डो नॉट इवन रियलाइज हाउ दीज डिफरेंट intersectionalities can affect a person and their self-confidence, or how they look at the world, like even their own worldview. So these are very, very important factors when we think about coming out and like creating a safer space in terms of coming out.
क्या आपको लगता है कि as queer people we should be coming out?
No, I don't think it's necessary. And it was never necessary. Personally, for me, I wanted to come out. When I realized about my own sexuality, I wanted to come out. I just felt like I am this person who likes to share about myself and who I am. I don't like to be too filtered. I don't want to be thinking twice कि अरे क्या बोलूँ मेरा girlfriend, boyfriend, partner, this, that. It just feels like a lot of work for me. So personally, I wanted to make sure that I'm coming out to my family, I'm coming out to the world. But there are a lot of people who have had conversations with, not just in a professional capacity, but personal capacity में भी, जहाँ पे लोग बोलते हैं कि मुझे तो नहीं लगता है कि coming out is necessary, and I respect that. I think कि it's absolutely okay. अगर आपको लगता है कि you don't want to come out or that you're not ready to come out, it's absolutely okay. I think it's a very personal choice. There is no one answer to this कि it's really about the person. उनको क्या चाहिए, उनको क्या करना है.
आपने एक फ्रेज यूज किया बीइंग रेडी. कैसे पता चलता है अगर वन इज रेडी?
I think when you think about readiness, you need to kind of understand कि अगर आप if you come out to somebody, so are there any consequences that are going to come your way, and agar koi consequences hai, are you going to be ready to be able to deal with them? So I think just preparing yourself कि इस सिचुएशन में अगर मैं कम आउट करूँ क्या हो सकता है, just a good self talk to have with yourself कि when I was coming out to my family, I remember I'm like, yes, I have really cool parents, but I was shivering because I'm just like, I don't know what's going to happen. So you just have to ask yourself that are you ready to kind of take this to the next step, because it is a sense of responsibility, especially जब family की बात करते हैं. क्योंकि अगर आप अपने family, if you come out to your family and उन्हें ये सब के बारे में ज़्यादा समझ नहीं आता है, then you have to kind of walk with them. You have to explain things to them. You can't be like, नहीं अभी now you do you, like you figure it out on your own. ऐसा नहीं होता है. We have to work together so that our families can also understand what it means for us and where we're coming from. तो रेडीनेस इज़ यही कि क्या आपको लगता है कि आपको अपने दोस्त को बताना है, क्या आपको लगता है कि आपको कॉलेज में बताना है, कॉलेज में अगर आप बताओगे तो कुछ हो सकता है, विल यू बी एबल टू डील विद दैट. सो आई थिंक दैट
क्या क्या चीज़ें याद रखनी चाहिए या फिर रेडी रखनी चाहिए बिफोर वन कम्स आउट इन केस दे आर इन अ स्पेस दैट इज़ not safe, and how do they stay prepared for that?
This is something that for years I've been telling ki if you are coming from a space where there is no sense of security, there is no sense of safety, you need to check आपके पास क्या resources है. You know, financial resources. Do you have financial resources कि अगर कुछ हो जाता है, will you be able to take care of yourself? Will you be able to support yourself? So for a lot of people, I usually have these discussions ki when do you think you would like to come out? Some people like to come out when they're really young, and that's absolutely okay because they feel that ठीक है, this is fine, this is manageable. And a lot of times they might still not be in a space of safety, but they still find a way around it. But I think as a therapist, I would like to have conversations with my clients where we will discuss कि अच्छा ठीक है क्या हो सकता है, what are the possibilities. Again, in very extreme situations, if people around are really not supportive, you want to make sure that your documents are safe. You want to make sure that you have your documents on you, because I know so many such examples जहाँ पे लोगों के documents ले गए, they've been taken away कि no, we will give you your documents once you come back, or when you decide that you're not going to do this anymore. So it's then used to like manipulate, it's then used to threaten a particular person. So you want to make sure that you have these things in check in very, very extreme situations and scenarios. I think one more thing, that when you're doing this entire coming out process, like when I came out to my mom, I had already come out to my sister. So I knew I had my sister on my side, agar kuch ho gaya to. So even if you're coming out in the family, find somebody you feel you've had the most connection with. आपको लगता है कि अगर आप इनसे बात करोगे तो वो आपकी बात मानेंगे, समझेंगे. You can start there.
Or in cases where they're not able to come out, and there is a lot of grief around कि ये तो नहीं समझने वाले, तो मुझे इनसे दूरी मेंटेन करनी होगी. What does one do in that case? And how does one then start to find safety in other places?
This also I think I've seen a lot with the people that I've worked with. I think पहले तो ये acknowledge करना बहुत ज़रूरी है कि we belong to India, जहाँ पर पेरेंट्स को बहुत ग्लोरीफाई किया जाता है, फैमिली को बहुत ग्लोरीफाई किया जाता है कि नहीं नहीं नहीं, ये तो मतलब आपके भगवान जैसे है, तो यू कांट लीव योर फैमिली एंड गो इवन इफ दे आर बीइंग द मोस्ट टॉक्सिक पीपल एवर. बट I think at some point you need to realize that if this is not working out for you, this is not working out for your mental health, then it's best to leave, because you are in that moment deciding to choose something that's going to work for you. And at the end of it आपको ही तो अपने साथ रहना है. And जितना भी आप उस environment में रहोगे जो toxic है, it starts affecting you in different aspects. It starts affecting your physical health. Starts affecting your mental health. You start getting like you're not able to work properly. So it's very important कि ऐसे moments में if you have the resources, you step out of that situation. मैंने ये भी बहुत देखा है कि जब when people have stepped out of that situation, their relationship with their family starts to change. Now I'm not saying कि this is ऐसा ही होता है, बट ऐसे बहुत सारे मैंने ऐसे केसेस देखे कि लोगों के फिर रिलेशनशिप फैमिली के साथ चेंज होने लग जाता है, बिकॉज देयर इज अ डिस्टेंस, एंड इन दैट डिस्टेंस यू ऑल आर एबल टू फाइंड बेटर वेज टू कम्युनिकेट विद ईच अदर.
How does one find care through community? And community बनता कैसे है? उसे ढूंढते कैसे है? And how do you reach there, basically?
I think I've had the privilege to be a part of so many different kind of community spaces since 2014, and it was very eye opening for me, क्योंकि मैंने सोचा ही नहीं था कि oh my god, like some people with similar something can get together, talk about their life, and you feel you stop feeling alone for a minute, and you're just like, oh my god, I'm not the only one who's going through this. So I've been a part of a lot of community spaces, whether it's been queer community spaces, mental health spaces. फिर मैंने सोचा कि मुझे भी communities बनाने हैं, because I see the importance of it. So when I started Leher, for me it was very important that I don't look at Leher just from an individual therapy perspective, but also about कि हम communities कैसे create कर सकते हैं. And I think pandemic really shifted things for all of us in terms of कि how communities do not only need to be an offline thing, right?
Yeah.
Communities can be online as well. So we run 3 communities within Leher. One is called Unapologetically Queer. It's like a queer support group. हम महीने में एक बार मिलते हैं. South Asians from all over the world come and join, and हर महीने हम अलग अलग बातें करते हैं. फिर मेंटल हेल्थ का भी एक कम्युनिटी ग्रुप बनाया है. एंड व्हाट वाज इंटरेस्टिंग अबाउट दिस मेंटल हेल्थ कम्युनिटी ग्रुप इज़ कि मैं एक फैसिलिटेटर हूँ. I have certain boundaries that I would like to maintain with these groups that I'm a part of. इन्होंने बोला कि हमको एक WhatsApp group चालू करना है, तो मैंने बोला चालू कर लो. So now they have a support WhatsApp group where only the participants are part of it, and they talk to each other, they do emotional check-ins, they'll be like कि अच्छा आपके life में क्या चल रहा है, क्या हो रहा है. Solidarity, that's what I would say. Like it's a huge sense of solidarity, and it's so important. And communities आपको कहीं पे भी मिल जाता है. Like आप you can like Reddit and subreddits के थ्रू भी लोगों को community मिलता है, लोगों को Discord के थ्रू community मिलता है. And I'm speaking a lot about online stuff क्योंकि my work is so online and the things I've witnessed are so online in nature. क्योंकि a lot of times लोगों को डर लगता है कि हम ऑफलाइन जाके लोगों को फेस नहीं कर सकते in person, कि what if somebody finds out, what if I meet a known person. तो online spaces then also become so important, because somebody in any part of the city or world can be like, I would like to be a part of this. So WhatsApp groups इतने सारे हैं जहाँ पर people are just talking कि आज मेरे partner के साथ ये हो गया, मेरे family के साथ ये हो गया, and people are showing up for each other. It's beautiful and powerful to kind of witness that happen.
इन ऑनलाइन स्पेसेस स्पेशली जहाँ पे वो क्लेम करते हैं कि ये सेफ स्पेसेस है, हैव यू कम अक्रॉस सिचुएशंस वेयर सेफ स्पेसेस सेफ नहीं होते एंड दे आर नॉट इंक्लूसिव ऑफ लाइक एवरीवन?
एब्सोल्युटली, मैं तो यही कहूँगी कि यू आर गोइंग टू फाइंड ऑल काइंड्स ऑफ पीपल एवरीवेयर इन योर लाइफ. यू नीड टू फिल्टर आउट, यू नीड टू बी लाइक कि जब लोग ग्रुप्स बनाते हैं एट दिस पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम, वॉट एवर व्हाट्सएप ग्रुप्स आई एम अ पार्ट ऑफ, देयर इज़ वन पर्सन हु विल बी लाइक कि अच्छा मैं एडमिन हूँ एंड आई एम गोइंग टू मेक श्योर दैट we are maintaining some safety and like guidelines and all of those things. तो अगर कोई अनसेफ बिहेव कर रहा है या कोई प्रॉब्लमेटिक हो रहा है, कोई डिस्क्रिमिनेट कर रहा है, मैंने ये भी नोटिस किया कि उनको ग्रुप से निकाल देते हैं. सो आई थिंक पीपल आर एक्टिवली टेकिंग दैट एफर्ट टू मेक स्पेसेस सेफ. आई टेल यू अ फनी स्टोरी. एक बार मुझे कोई क्वियर एफर्मेटिव मेंटल हेल्थ प्रोफेशनल ग्रुप पे ऐड कर दिया था व्हाट्सएप पे. So I'm like, okay, queer mental health professional hai, so we all have something in common. And I think this was some political post was put up on that group. And किसी ने बोला कि please don't include politics into this conversation. और फिर हम जो actually queer mental health professionals थे, हमने बोला कि ये हो ही नहीं सकता है. Like, how can you not include politics as a part of this conversation, especially when you're saying कि you are working for queer people. And फिर उस पर बहुत सारा झगड़ा हो गया and then I left the group because I have only so much bandwidth to take deal with something like this. मैंने ग्रुप छोड़ दिया. फिर किसी ने इंस्टाग्राम पे एक फुल पोस्ट लिखा कि लाइक मेंटल हेल्थ इज़ पॉलिटिकल, आप इसको पॉलिटिकल नहीं बोल सकते हो, ऐसा होता ही नहीं है. आप न्यूट्रल नहीं हो सकते हो. वेराज हमारे एजुकेशन में हमें यही सिखाया था कि यू हैव टू बी एज न्यूट्रल एज एवर, एटलीस्ट व्हेन आई वाज स्टडीइंग बैक इन द डे. तो इट्स वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग टू सी व्हाट आर द डिफरेंट थिंग्स दैट हैपन एंड यू चूज़ कि आपको कहाँ रहना है, आपको किससे बात करनी है. वो एजेंसी आपके पास होनी चाहिए.
सेफ स्पेसेस को पॉलिटिकल कैसे बनाया जाता है?
सेफ स्पेसेस को पॉलिटिकल कैसे बनाया जाता है? तो फॉर एग्जाम्पल देर इज़ दिस ग्रुप आई एम अ पार्ट ऑफ ऑन व्हाट्सएप. नाउ दैट आई थिंक अबाउट इट, आई एम अ पार्ट ऑफ अ लॉट ऑफ व्हाट्सएप ग्रुप्स, बट इट्स नाइस बिकॉज क्योंकि बहुत सीखने को मिलता है एंड यू स्टार्ट मीटिंग अ लॉट ऑफ पीपल and just like thoda bhi, I'm not somebody who will be very active on these groups, but then it's nice to see because people are really trying to have conversations. And पॉलिटिकल कैसे होता है कि अगर आप अपने आइडेंटिटीज़ को ला रहे हो और सबके आइडेंटिटीज़ एक दूसरे से अलग है, यू देन डू रियलाइज कि where are you in this entire scheme of things, right? Like, sure, we are all in India, but who has the privilege, who has certain things that they have versus some people who don't have it. कुछ लोग ये बोलते हैं कि I just came back from a cisgendered heterosexual wedding and they felt very triggered about it. That itself has so many things to say about where we are at with like मैरिज इक्वालिटी इन द कंट्री. अगेन उसमें पॉलिटिक्स आ जाता है, गवर्नमेंट आ जाता है, इतना कुछ आ जाता है. सो यू कांट से दैट देर इज़ नो स्पेस फॉर दीज कॉन्वर्सेशंस बिकॉज देन यू जस्ट सेइंग कि नहीं हम ये सब के बारे में बात नहीं करेंगे.
तो ये सेफ स्पेसेस और कम्युनिटी स्पेसेस चोजन फैमिली से अलग कैसे होते हैं एग्जैक्टली?
जब हम सेफ स्पेसेस या कम्युनिटी स्पेसेस की बात करते हैं, आई थिंक अ सेफ स्पेस एज अ कॉन्सेप्ट needs to exist everywhere. It needs to exist within a chosen family setup. It needs to exist जहाँ पर हम एक community की बात कर रहे हैं, like a larger community. I would say कि a community is a larger space, a larger set of people. Whereas a chosen family, family of choice, there are so many words people use. It's a beautiful concept that I came to know probably 8 to 10 years ago, because for me I was like, हाँ family मतलब biological family, उसके अलावा तो और कुछ होता ही नहीं है. But then when I met other queer people and I realized that they see me for who I want to be, मुझे कैसे show up करना है, वो एक अलग तरीके का acceptance आया. I would really call it radical acceptance, but because for us it was we are not just queer people but we're also like fat bodied people. That for us was so important because I grew up I grew up, whenever I used to go to a friend's place for a sleepover, I always had to carry, it's a small thing, but I always had to carry my own clothes because I'm a fat bodied person. So clothes would never fit me if I'm going to a friend's place, especially if they don't have the same body type as me.
Yeah.
So then to meet these people who I consider as my chosen family was beautiful because we could understand issues कि अच्छा फैमिली के क्या इश्यूज हो सकते हैं, ट्रॉमा क्या होता है, बॉडी इमेज इश्यूज रिलेटेड क्या होता है, एंड देन यू लाइक you hype each other up, you support each other. Somebody within my chosen family lost her cat, and now I'm like supporting my friend through grief. You do not realize there are so many things, and these are things that sure you would also probably do with your biological family, but these are people you have chosen. Like हम ये भी discuss करते हैं, it's beautiful, like these conversations we have are so nice. हम ये discuss करते हैं कि as queer people, our life is going to be very different as compared to a cisgendered heterosexual person, and we really believe in the concept of community living. तो हम ये भी discuss करते हैं कि we are going to be like these old queer people who will live together once we grow old, because it's about offering support to each other till the very end. So I think we take the concept of chosen family very seriously, and I also notice that a lot around, and it's beautiful to witness that people form their own relationships saying that okay, now this one's my mother in the chosen family setup, this one's my father in the chosen family setup, and it's very interesting to see कि अच्छा like people are really more and more moving towards understanding the importance कि अच्छा chosen family कितना important होता है हमारे life में, and I really hope everybody gets to find that for themselves.
You spoke about growing old together with your chosen family. It makes me think of the permanence of these families and relationships. How exactly have you noticed that chosen families exactly differ कैसे करते हैं older queers के लिए और younger queers के लिए? क्या आपने कोई difference notice किया है? क्या उनके मतलब like features या उनको जो चाहिए वो chosen family से क्या वो differ करता है?
So whenever मैं जब भी कोई ऐसा old queer person को मिलती हूँ and I kind of see कि ठीक है इनकी life कैसी है, इनके दोस्त कौन है, you know, and then they say things like कि oh we've known each other for like 25 plus years. That gives me hope. Like that definitely gives me hope, because as a young queer, I mean, yeah, I think I can call myself a young queer person. I always wonder कि how long will my friendships last, and is this something that's going to go on for a very long time? So whenever I see older queer people having a close-knit community, celebrating things together, I think that is beautiful because that gives us hope कि okay, हम भी कर सकते हैं. This is something that we're going to be able to do as well. I think there is no, I will not say that there is any difference, but यही है कि the more we see older queer people living the life unabashedly, हमें यही लगेगा कि चलो हम भी कर पाएंगे ये. It's just a ray of hope basically.
What you're saying sounds could sound utopian for some people. क्या ऐसे हो सकता है कि chosen families में भी हमें बाउंड्रीज चाहिए होती है, कॉन्फ्लिक्ट्स आते हैं क्योंकि हम साथ में रहते हैं या फिर हमें साथ में रहना है? What does that look like?
एब्सोल्युटली आई थिंक जब हम बाउंड्री की कॉन्सेप्ट लेते हैं ना, हमें यही लगता है कि लोगों को लगता है कि बाउंड्री मतलब ये तो बहुत ही बुरी चीज़ हो गई है, लाइक ओ माई गॉड हाउ डेयर यू ड्रॉ बाउंड्री विथ मी. बट अ लॉट ऑफ टाइम्स मैं क्लाइंट्स को भी सेशंस में बोलती हूँ कि अगर आपको बाउंड्री ड्रॉ करनी है आपके फैमिली के साथ या आपके फ्रेंड्स के साथ या जिसके भी साथ, you're doing this with good intention. You're doing this because you actually cherish this relationship और आप चाहते हो कि ये relationship थोड़ा लंबा टाइम चले. So friendships में भी या chosen family में भी boundaries बहुत ज़रूरी है. For me, I think I learned it the hard way because हमें यही लगता था कि नहीं हमें तो कुछ ज़रूरत नहीं है, हमें कोई boundary ज़रूरत नहीं है, and then conflicts took place. फिर we tried to find a way or work around कि ठीक है let's work towards जो भी था, and then we were in a space कि okay, boundaries are important. You draw your boundary or you tell me, आप मुझे बताओ कि what's not okay for you, what's non-negotiable for you, and if I really cherish this friendship, I'm going to respect that. And similarly for me, I think here also to the queer mix, I want to bring in neurodivergence, because that's also very important in terms of like understanding how we see the world, understanding then what boundaries mean. As a neurodivergent person, if my friend says that, listen, मैं बहुत overstimulated हूँ, मैं नहीं कर पाऊँगी आज, like I don't want to meet you, it's okay. I don't need to feel offended about it. I don't need to feel like, अरे, how could my friend do something like this? Because I get her, like I get her, I get where she's coming from. So again, coming back to safety, I should feel safe enough to let my friend know कि सुनो मैं बहुत overstimulated हूँ, मैं आज नहीं कर पाऊँगी, or like I don't think I can meet today. Or like supporting my friend during Diwali, because Diwali was a difficult period for them, क्योंकि it was a very very big sensory overload for them. तो different ways में एक दूसरे को समझना, एंड बाउंड्री सेटिंग तब भी आएगा जब आप खुद अपने आप को समझ पाओगे. यू नीड टू अंडरस्टैंड कि अच्छा व्हाट इज़ ओके फॉर यू, व्हाट इज़ नॉट ओके फॉर यू, एंड देन दैट इट्स ओके टू कम्युनिकेट दैट टू द अदर पर्सन. आप बता सकते हो उनको, क्योंकि यू वॉन्ट टू वर्क ऑन दिस रिलेशनशिप, वॉट एवर फ्रेंडशिप हो या जो भी हो.
अब हमारे कम्युनिटी में बहुत अलग अलग पावर डायनामिक्स होते हैं. जैसे अगर एक इंसान सवर्णा है और दूसरा दलित है, या फिर कुछ और भी हो सकता है, वो कैसे नेविगेट करते हैं, एंड डज इट still exists the same way that a community space exists where everyone is of the same identity, like it's very homogeneous group.
No, I don't think we can never look at, let's just say that there is a group of 5 people, just because all 5 of them are queer does not mean कि सबकी lived experiences same है. They can come from different families, they can come from a different class, caste, religion. तो उसे आई थिंक एक्नॉलेज करना बहुत ज़रूरी है. अगर लाइक यू मैंशन, लाइक लेट्स जस्ट से दैट देयर इज अ सवर्णा पर्सन, देयर इज अ दलित पर्सन, आई थिंक एज अ सवर्णा पर्सन दैट पर्सन नीड्स टू कीप द प्रिविलेज इन चेक. They need to be able to make space for the Dalit person in that entire conversation, right? Like, again, random small example, which might not be about class or caste, but it has to do about gender. Many years ago, my friend and I were a part of an event, and वो इवेंट ऐसा था कि हमको रात को बहुत देर तक रहना था और सुबह बहुत जल्दी पहुंचना था. तो हमारे जो बॉस थे उन्होंने बोला था कि इन दोनों को अकोमोडेशन देना पड़ेगा, क्योंकि as queer people, one of them is very mask presenting, which means that their sense of safety is also compromised, क्योंकि they are not passing, they are not passing. तो उस पर एकदम फुल झगड़ा हुआ था कि नहीं इनको तो अकोमोडेशन देना ही है. Just a very very small example in terms of understanding कि when you are coming from a space of minority and somebody is coming from a space of power, that person coming from a space of power needs to create space for the person coming from the space of minority. And it's easier to tell that person who's coming from a space of minority that, oh, occupy space, like, आपको बात कर लेनी चाहिए, आपको अपने बारे में शेयर कर लेना चाहिए. It's easier said than done. It's not always something that people are comfortable doing. So it's also कि if, and this is for anyone and everyone, ask yourself कि अच्छा आपकी क्या privileges है, and वो privileges आप कैसे check में रख सकते हो. And आप अगर एक room में हो तो how can you make that room a comfortable space for everybody who's a part of that room.
Yeah, that's helpful. To just put together everything that we've discussed so far, I would like to ask you, what does home look like to you right now?
पहले तो मुझे ऐसा लगता था कि home is a person. Like I was in this long-term relationship with somebody, and for me I was like, oh, that person is my home. And then we broke up. and then I'm just like, wow, what is home for me now? Because I associated home with like this one particular person, and that person in this moment doesn't exist in my life. तो फिर I think I started questioning home as a concept for me, and I feel कि home is like a feeling, and it could like, it's like water, you know, it could, आप उसको आप कहीं पे भी डाल सकते हो. For me, my so I live with a dog and a cat. They're my kids, so for me they are my home. I've built a beautiful home where I independently kind of, I live with my dog and cat. That's a space I want to go back to every night. Like, it's a safe space, it's my home, I have built it, I have decorated it, I have made it as queer as possible. So home can mean so many things. It's a feeling, it's literally a feeling.
Yeah. I think that's a great way to end the episode, to end on the note that home is fluid and it's created by you and it's safe and it's how spaces should be. Thank you for watching this episode of Let's Talk Safety with Richa Vashishta. This series is produced by the Humsafar Trust with the CSR support of Dorf Kettle Chemicals India Limited. And we'll see you on the next episode. Thank you.